Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Glad to be back.
Today we're going to tackle something that I think a lot of us experience pretty regularly, but maybe don't always understand,
Right.
and that is stress.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about the impact of stress on our metabolism and energy balance.
Fascinating topic.
And I think this is something that
Absolutely.
we kind of all know. Stress can make us, either lose our appetite
For sure.
or head straight for the pantry and just kind of go crazy with it.
Right.
But
Yeah.
we're going to dive deep into why that is.
It is really interesting how it can go both ways, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes stress, you just can't eat. And
Yeah.
other times you just want to eat everything in sight.
Right.
So we're going to explore that.
Exactly. And we have a scientific review article here to guide us through all the ins and outs of how stress can really make us eat like birds sometimes.
Right.
And other times like bears, getting ready for hibernation.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So let's rewind to the very basics. Okay.
Imagine you're facing a sudden threat. Like, maybe you've got a pop quiz coming up.
Oh,
Or
wow.
maybe you spot a spider in your shoe.
I hate those.
Your heart starts pounding, your palms get sweaty, your brain goes into overdrive.
Right?
That's your sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight system kicking into gear.
The good old fight or flight response.
Right.
It's like something straight out of a nature documentary.
Exactly.
Gazelle sees lion gazelle, runs for its life.
Yep, you need that burst of energy to either confront the danger or make a swift exit.
Right. It makes total sense.
Exactly.
But what's actually happening, like on a chemical level inside of us
Yeah.
when that's happening?
It all starts in a tiny region of your brain called the hypothalamus.
Okay.
This is the control center for the stress response.
Okay.
And the hypothalamus releases a hormone called CRH,
Uh-huh.
which sets off a chain reaction ultimately leading to the production of adrenaline and cortisol.
Cortisol, the infamous stress hormone.
Right.
I've heard so much about cortisol.
But to be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure what it does.
Okay.
So is CRH kind of like the boss and cortisol is like the employee carrying out the order?
That's a great analogy.
Okay.
So now picture this. You're a lab rat and you're suddenly stressed.
Okay.
Studies show that rodents in these situations tend to eat less and lose weight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like their bodies prioritize survival mode over snack time.
Interesting. So it's like in these high stress moments, CRH and its related hormones,
Yeah.
the urocortins,
Yeah.
they're basically telling your body, hey, no time for munchies. We got bigger problems right now.
Right.
They're acting like appetite suppressants.
Exactly. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
If you keep stressing those rats out repeatedly,
Mm-hmm.
they actually maintain a lower body weight even after things calm down.
Oh, wow. So even after the stress is gone, they stay slimmer.
It seems that way.
Does that mean like their bodies become more efficient at burning calories?
That's what the research suggests. Their energy expenditure seems to adjust to this new normal. But here's a plot twist.
Oh.
While this initial weight loss is common under chronic stress, eventually those same rats start packing on the pounds.
Really?
Yeah, it's like their bodies adapt to the constant stress and become super efficient at storing energy.
So it's not just about like how much we eat when we're stressed,
Right.
but also how our bodies are processing those calories.
That's right.
It's like our metabolism gets a total makeover.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about those catecholamines we mentioned earlier.
Okay.
Like adrenaline. They don't just prepare you for action. They also ramp up your metabolism.
So stress can actually burn calories.
In a way. Yeah.
So maybe those like frantic late night study sessions I pulled in college were actually doing me some good.
Well, it's a bit more complex than that.
Okay.
Catecholamines stimulate the breakdown of fat and glycogen, giving your body quick energy.
Got it.
And brown adipose tissue,
Okay.
or BAT, plays a key role here.
BAT.
Yes.
Is that like the good fat or the bad fat?
Think of BAT as your body's internal furnace.
Okay.
It burns calories to generate heat.
Got it.
And catecholamines crank up that furnace, increasing something called thermogenesis.
Okay, so stress activates BA,
Right.
which torches calories.
Yeah.
But wait, I thought we were talking about how stress can lead to weight gain.
We're getting there.
I'm getting a little whiplash here.
So far, we've been focusing on rodents.
Okay.
Things get more complicated when we shift to humans.
Okay.
While acute stress, that short-term burst,
Yeah.
might have similar effects.
Okay.
Chronic stress in humans often leads to, you guessed it, weight gain.
That explains those late night ice cream runs.
Right?
But why the difference between us and those lab rats?
Mm.
We both experience stress,
Yeah.
but the outcome seems so different.
One big difference is our relationship with food.
Okay.
We don't just eat for survival.
Right.
We eat for comfort, pleasure, even boredom. And under chronic stress, many of us turn to what we call comfort food.
Yeah.
You know, the high-calorie, sugary, fatty stuff that seems to temporarily silence our worries.
Okay. I'm totally guilty of stress baking.
Right.
But is there a biological reason
Yeah.
why we crave these specific foods when we're feeling overwhelmed?
Yes.
Can't just be a coincidence. I
We're
mean,
not a coincidence at all. Remember cortisol, that key player in our stress response? Well, it turns out cortisol can actually make those tempting treats even more rewarding. It's like it hijacks your brain's pleasure center, making you crave those donuts and chips even more when you're feeling the pressure.
so stress makes junk food even more irresistible.
Exactly.
That explains a lot. But how does this lead to weight gain in the long run? I mean, it's not like we're eating donuts every second of the day, even when we're stressed.
You're right. It's not just about those moments of indulgence over time. This constant craving for comfort foods coupled with other metabolic changes can lead to an increase in visceral fat, the kind that accumulates around your organs. And that's where the real trouble begins.
Visceral fat. That sounds pretty ominous. So bad about it, isn't all fat basically the same?
Not quite. Visceral fat is linked to a higher risk of metabolic syndrome, which is like a cluster of health problems, including high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and unhealthy cholesterol levels. And that increases your risk of serious conditions like heart disease and type 2 diabetes.
So it's not just about fitting into your genes, it's about protecting your health in the long run. That's a powerful message, but I'm still a bit confused about cortisol. Earlier, you mentioned it has both catabolic and anabolic effects. Can you break that down for me? Sounds like a contradiction.
It's true. Cortisol is a bit of a two-faced hormone in the short term. It acts like a catabolic hormone, meaning it breaks down things like fat and glucose for quick energy. It's like your body's way of saying, hey, we need fuel now.
So that explains that burst of energy you sometimes get when you're stressed, even if it's followed by a crash later on.
Exactly. But in the long run, cortisol can have anabolic effects, meaning it promotes the storage of fat, particularly in the abdominal area. It's like your body's trying to build up reserves for a prolonged period of stress, even though that's not usually necessary in our modern world.
So cortisol is like that friend who's great in small doses but can wear you down if you spend too much time with them a little bit, can help you power through a challenge but too much, and you're headed for trouble.
A perfect analogy, and this dual nature of cortisol is a key reason why chronic stress can lead to those stubborn extra pounds and metabolic issues. It's like a constant tug of war between breaking down and building up, and in the case of chronic stress, the building up often wins.
This is all making so much sense now we've talked about cortisol, but there's another key player in this stress metabolism story, right?
Yeah.
Neuropeptide Y or NPY. I'm starting to think all these hormones and neurotransmitters deserve their own reality show.
How to watch that? NPY is definitely a central character in this drama. It's produced in your hypothalamus, that command center in your brain, and also in your sympathetic nervous system. And depending on where it's acting, it can either boost your appetite or suppress it.
Okay, so NPY is another two-faced character in this story. Tell me more about what it does.
Imagine you're feeling stressed. NPY levels in your hypothalamus increase, sending a message to your brain, eat you. We need to replenish those energy stores just in case this stress sticks around. That's why you find yourself craving those calorie-dense comfort foods.
So NPY is basically the ringleader behind those stress-induced cravings, pushing us towards those bags of chips and cookies. But you said it can also suppress appetite. How does that work?
That's right. NTY is a multitasker. When it acts in your sympathetic nervous system, it actually helps to decrease appetite. It's like a built-in brake system trying to keep things in check.
So it's like NPY is playing both sides of the field, sometimes encouraging us to eat more and sometimes telling us to slow down. No wonder this whole stress-metabolism connection is so complicated.
It's a delicate balance, and when chronic stress throws things out of whack, NPY can tip the scales towards those unhealthy cravings and increased fat storage.
This is all fascinating, but I have to admit, it's a bit overwhelming. So many hormones, so many pathways, so many intricate connections. How do scientists even begin to study all of this?
It's a constant process of discovery, piecing together the puzzle bit by bit. Rodent studies have provided valuable insights, but of course humans are far more complex. We have unique genetic variations, lifestyle factors, and even personality traits that influence our responses to stress.
So not everyone responds to stress in the same way. Some people seem to thrive under pressure while others crumble. What's the difference? Is it all in our genes?
That's a great question, and it's something researchers are still trying to fully understand. Genetics definitely plays a role, but so do our experiences, our coping mechanisms, and even our mindset.
So nature and nurture both play a part in how we handle stress.
Yeah.
But what about the impact on our metabolism? Are some people just genetically predisposed to stress-induced weight gain?
It's likely a combination of factors. Some individuals may have genetic variations that make them more susceptible to the metabolic consequences of stress, such as insulin resistance.
Insulin resistance, that's another term I've heard thrown around a lot. Can you remind me what that is and why it's important in this context?
Insulin is like a key that unlocks your cells, allowing glucose, the sugar from your food, to enter and be used for energy allo. Insulin resistance is like a rusty lock. It makes it harder for insulin to do its job, leading to elevated blood sugar levels.
And high blood sugar over time can lead to all sorts of health problems, right?
Exactly. It's a major risk factor for type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and other metabolic disorders, and chronic stress can worsen insulin resistance, creating a vicious cycle.
Okay, so we've got cortisol messing with our dopamine pathways, making us crave comfort food.
Hmm.
We've got NPY pushing us to eat more. We've got insulin resistance making it harder for our bodies to process sugar effectively. It's like a perfect storm for metabolic mayhem.
It's definitely a complex interplay of factors, but understanding these mechanisms is the first step towards taking control. The good news is we're not powerless in this fight. There are things we can do to mitigate the impact of stress on our metabolism.
That's what I was just about to ask. What can people do to protect themselves from this metabolic roller coaster? I'm sure our listeners are eager for some practical tips.
Yeah, for sure. So many people are looking for those magic bullets, right?
Right.
But when it comes to stress and metabolism, it's really about a holistic approach.
Okay.
We have to acknowledge that stress is a physiological process,
Hmm.
not just something in your head.
Right.
It triggers real measurable changes in your body,
Yeah.
and those changes affect your metabolism and how your body uses energy.
So ignoring stress isn't an option
Right.
because it's working on us in ways that we don't even realize.
Exactly. And that's why finding healthy ways to manage stress is crucial, not just for our mental well-being, but also for our physical health.
Okay.
Things like exercise, spending time in nature, meditation, or even talking to a therapist can make a world of difference.
Okay, so tackling stress head on is priority number one.
Absolutely.
But what about those tempting comfort foods?
Right.
Any tips for resisting those cravings when stress hits?
Well, one promising area of research is the gut microbiome.
Okay.
It turns out the trillions of bacteria living in our gut
Uh,
have a huge impact on our metabolic health.
okay.
And guess what? Stress can disrupt that delicate balance of bacteria,
Oh, really?
leading to something called dysbiosis.
Dysbiosis?
Yeah, which can further contribute to those metabolic problems we've been talking about.
Hold on. You're telling me those tiny bacteria in my gut are playing a role in how my body handles stress?
It's true, and there's growing evidence that certain lifestyle choices like regular exercise and getting enough sleep
Uh-huh.
can actually positively influence our gut bacteria.
So taking care of our gut health is another piece of the puzzle.
Yes.
Probiotics, prebiotics, fermented foods.
All those trendy things we hear about.
Right, all that stuff.
Exactly. Nurturing a diverse and healthy gut microbiome can help us become more resilient to the negative effects of stress on our metabolism.
Got it.
It's like giving our gut a fighting chance to stay balanced.
Okay, this is all starting to connect.
Right.
Exercise, sleep, stress management, gut health.
Yes.
It's all tied together. But what about those of us who are more prone to stress eating?
Sure.
Are we just doomed to battle those cravings forever?
Not at all. Remember, our bodies are incredibly adaptable.
Yeah.
We just need to nudge them in the right direction. Mindfulness practices like meditation or yoga can be incredibly helpful.
How does mindfulness help with something like stress eating?
Mindfulness helps us develop a greater awareness of our thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations.
Okay.
So instead of mindlessly reaching for that bag of chips when you're stressed,
Uh-huh.
mindfulness encourages you to pause,
Right.
notice those cravings, and make a conscious choice about how to respond.
So it's about breaking that automatic stress equals eating cycle. I like that.
And the more we practice mindfulness, the better we become at recognizing those patterns and making healthier choices. It's like training your brain to respond to stress in a new, more supportive way.
This has been a truly eye-opening deep dive.
It has.
We've learned so much about the intricate ways stress impacts our metabolism, from those sneaky hormones to the fascinating world of the gut microbiome.
Yes.
We've even uncovered some powerful strategies to fight back and protect our metabolic health.
Absolutely. And I think the key takeaway here is that we're not at the mercy of our stress.
Right.
We have the power to make choices that support our well-being.
I love that message.
Me too.
A huge thank you to our expert for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
And to all of our listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, managing stress is an ongoing journey, and those little moments of pause and self-care can make all the difference. Thanks for listening.